Symposium forms part of our 10th anniversary as MC-Bauchemie. In this short span of 10 years, we have traversed this nation. We have been involved in several big and small projects, collaborated with professional players, institutions in the industry, and set the pace in concrete technology advancement and trainings in Ghana. The major concern, however, for us as an organization and in our daily activities on project site has been structural safety and accountability. And the issue is now more dangerous than a few years ago. In our earlier years, we were invited to project sites somewhere around East Legon, and after assessing building for just less than 10 minutes, we've already concluded that this project we are not touching because it's a death trap. We have been to project sites where project owners sack the structural engineers because they want things done properly or they are delaying the project. We have seen major churches and school projects where the heads dismissed all the professionals on the project and took over the construction themselves to save cost. We have visited construction sites and witnessed construction methods that are not in any code or standards. We have seen real estate houses that in any serious country, the owners would have been jailed for selling trash to innocent home buyers. People buy crap and they have absolutely no recourse. The most interesting part of all this is that nobody or institution seems to care. No wonder when we started this conversation sometime last year to organize this event, most of our distinguished professionals think it's a complete waste of time. But thank you for coming nonetheless. That shows that we still want something done about it. Anytime a building collapses, we call for an investigation into the causes of the collapse. But the truth of the matter is, I think we all know the causes. In preparing for this symposium, I called one of our experienced structural engineers, of course, German trained, Engineer Lotte, head of structures, and he's here this morning. I said, Engineer, how many structure failures have you investigated or have first-hand information on? He said, oh, no, I have it right here. 20 seconds later, he sent it to me. I have the list here. And then I called him back. I said, Engineer, how many people have been jailed for these failures? The answer, he said, no, we are jokers. That's the answer I got. The comments we got from industry players about these building failures and the nation's response anytime a failure occurs were quite intriguing. Either we are stupid, we are not serious people, we are careless, and so on. This all points to a level of frustration in the system, as if there is no hope. The most fascinating response for me so far is, but we are people of faith. Somehow, one of the responses is true, or there's truth somewhere in between. And the faith part, I can really not understand. The phrase concrete time bombs is a powerful reminder that dangers are often hidden beneath seemingly solid structures. Defective materials, inadequate supervision, poor design practices, non-compliance with standards, unauthorized alterations, and weak enforcement mechanism can transform buildings from places of safety into sources of tragedy. However, today is not dwelling on problems. It is about solutions. It is about transforming challenges into opportunities and charting a new path for Ghana's built environment. To build century-ready cities, we must embrace three interconnected pillars: structural safety, accountability, climate resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, this symposium provides an important platform for honest dialogue, critical reflection, and practical action. Let us use this opportunity not to merely identify challenges, but to develop implementable solutions, strengthen partnerships, and shape policies that will safeguard lives and support sustainable development. So once again, thank you for your presence here this morning, your commitment and your contribution to this national conversation. I wish you all a productive and impactful symposium. Thank you, and God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Applause for Mr. Noble. MC-Bauchemie. So, from concrete time bombs to building century-ready cities. Before we dive into the activities of this day, I would like to introduce you to our distinguished chairman and panelists over here. We are going to have some serious discussions, but you have to know the people we are talking to. And I'll start with our chairman. Our chairman for today's event is Professor Boateng Onowa Agyeman. Yes, he is our chairperson for today's event. Professor Onowa Agyeman Boateng is the provost of the College of Basic and Applied Science at the University of Ghana. He holds a bachelor degree in physics from KNUST, my school, and a master's degrees in physics and PhD in material science and engineering from Saga University in Japan. His expertise spans physics, material science, academic leadership, and scientific research. Prof, thank you for coming. I would also like to move onto my panelists and then introduce them as well. We have a distinguished engineer in our midst, many of them actually. We have Engineer Kwabena Bimpong, yes. Sometimes I say KBG in my mind. Yes, Engineer Kwabena Bimpong. He is an engineering practitioner. Many people in the engineering community know him. He is a national counselor and chairman of the membership committee of the Ghana Institution of Engineering. He is also a member of the Ghana Consulting Engineering Associations and has participated in numerous local and international conferences and professional development programs, contributing to advancement of engineering standards and professional excellence. Engineer, you are welcome. We also have Professor Benjamin Ejei-Tufo. He is from the University of Ghana, my other school, and material sciences. Yes. Professor Benjamin Ejei-Tufo is an associate professor of material science and engineering at the University of Ghana. His research is focused on development of composite and non-composite materials. Yes, composite and nano-composite materials for renewable and sustainable energy applications. His work encompasses many advanced energy technologies. Through his research, he contributed to the advancement of innovative materials and technologies aimed at addressing global energy and sustainability challenges. Prof, you are welcome. We also have in our midst Mr. Emmanuel Cherry of Ghana Chamber of Construction and Industry. Mr. Cherry is a Ghanaian construction industry leader and the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Construction and Industry. He advocates for quality infrastructure, sustainability development, and long-term growth, highlights the importance of building systems and structures that serve both present and future generations. Mr. Cherry, you are welcome. We've also had to have some wonderful people also join us this morning. And we also have Engineer Maoli Chaku. Engineer Maoli Chaku is the head of engineering at Ghana's Standard Authority, championing all the engineering needs of the authority and helping Ghana to grow. Thank you, engineer, for coming. Then we also have somebody from a very interesting authority. We have Ms. Nada Tando. She is the Deputy Director for Standards and Compliance at the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, LUPSA. Most of you are going to learn really about LUPSA today. Nadia, you're welcome. Yes. And of course, I'm your moderator for today's session, Kojobo Tujima from the Delegation of German Industries and Commerce. We represent the German economy in Ghana, and we are proud to be associated with MC-Bauchemie. Without much ado, I would want us to move straightly to take the opening remarks or the chairman's remarks for this event. So, Prof, please, you're welcome.
Yeah, you have to look at the standard for height. I don't think you consider that. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to chair this symposium. I've already accepted to chair, and so I think I will do that again this morning. I'm so excited about this conversation. If you look at industries, the aviation industry, the automobile industry, the built environment industry, etc., we have different parties involved, and if there is a problem, we should be able to pick which party is responsible for that problem. In the automobile industry, for example, if you have a problem with your airbag, we know the manufacturer. They will go for the manufacturer, and then you'll be dealt with. In the aviation industry, it's the same thing. So in the built environment, I think we need to know all the people involved. When I enter any building, I just take a look around and then see. I saw something here. I wasn't so happy about where I'm sitting. You know, so we should be able to identify the parties involved in the construction or wherever it is. So today's symposium, we have different players in the industry. We're going to talk to them. We will understand the role of each other party in the industry. And then we'll see, because he's already highlighted a number of challenges, we can easily pinpoint which player that has failed to, you know. If you look at the materials aspect of the industry, it's very important we look at that. When I was growing up, we had concrete structures, all right, and then we had mud houses. You know, as for the roofing, those days they called them iron sheets, and then asbestos. These days, if you drive around and you see the different types of roofing sheets around, it's wonderful. It tells you that there are new things coming up. Do we understand the material aspect of all these things? There is academia here. So we'll look at how academia also comes in, especially the tertiary institutions. That's where human capacity is coming from. The last part, how are they playing the roles they are playing in nurturing students so they can get into the industry and then they can also understand what is going on. We also look at government agencies. You know, they play a crucial role. They are the regulators. We'll look at standards, and then we'll see how our standards have been in the built industry. We also look at planning. We're all aware that if you step into Accra, in fact, the first time I heard that every 2 plots, there must be a street separating them. You know, who are those responsible for that, enforcing those things? We also look at structural integrity, the standards. When I was building my small place, they told me that a bag of cement will give you how many blocks? So people have that in their mind, but they've forgotten that the sand that you're going to use in the ratio plays a very key role. So we'll look at all these things today, and then we need to clearly highlight the role of each. So when we leave here, the picture will be more clearer. You see a building, it has collapsed. We need to pinpoint the party that is responsible for that. So it is going to be a frank discussion. In the automobile industry, they've sorted that out. If there's failure, they will go straight for you. So let us do that here. In fact, this morning, my wife just sent me a message. My wife is from Japan. About 2 hours ago, they recorded a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. Kyushu Island. As for my people, when you cross the line, they will deal with you. I remember around 2005, there was a policy that all buildings should withstand magnitude of 10. Yes. So there was this firm that had already put up about 15 or so hotels, massive hotels. And when they looked at it, they were all below 10. They had to bring them all down. Yeah. So for an earthquake of 7, I don't think people will die in Japan. They will survive. If it happens here, what is going to happen? Yeah. So let us make sure that when you cross the line, it is something I'm worried about in this country. People cross the line clearly and they are not punished. On another platform, I know why we do that. I will not talk about it here. Maybe in my concluding remarks, after listening to the industry players, I will say it. Right. So on this note, once again, I'm very happy to chair this important symposium. We have to let everything out and make sure that we find solutions to it. Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you very much, Prof. I want to let you know that we are live on Citi 97.3 FM, live on MC-Bauchemie Ghana Limited social media handles, and also on YouTube on Channel 1 as well. So share the links and let your people join. We would have the presentation of issues by Dr. Engineer Yao Kwache Adofo of MC-Bauchemie. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, observing every protocol, ladies and gentlemen, from concrete time bombs to building century-ready cities, navigating structural safety, accountability, and climate resilience in Ghana's built environment, I present the issues. My task here is to provide the background to some of the foundational issues to this morning's symposium discussion. And the objective for this conversation is to identify and establish actionable pathways toward building a resilient environment. Despite possessing highly qualified professional bodies and a comprehensive statutory framework in our National Building Regulations 1996, which is LI 1630, the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act 2016, and the National Building Code, premature building collapses, structural distress, rapid material degradation, and unabandoned and uncompleted buildings are all scattered in this country, wherever you pass, especially in this city. It's becoming alarming and common. From the past 5 years, it's been reported that over 75 structural collapses have been recorded across the country, which historical data is showing that 1 to 3 multi-story structural failures occur annually. Just in 2026 June, we have about 3 incidences in Accra, Avenor, Adenta, and Accra Newtown specifically. Not forgetting about the 58 building collapses that occurred in the central region due to the single major torrential rains that we experienced this year. Various investigations conducted into these failures are saying that it's as a result of missed human errors, unapproved development, poor quality concrete, and other regulatory gaps. At what point do we shift from the short-term realities of disposable infrastructure to the long-term demands of century-ready cities? Now, let's take a look at the 4 main pillars of this symposium. The first pillar, and our discussion today, is the anatomy of the failures. How do we diffuse the present time bombs? 1, is it a matter of material volatility, workmanship, or professional absenteeism? Who then is monitoring what is happening, regulating and enforcing the railway execution? Is there a dire need for professional expertise across the chain? A research conducted by Stuart Matthews in 2014 confirms that about 50% of structural defects and failure is as a result of execution and construction site workmanship. If that is the case, then why are we continuing to engage informal artisans on our construction premise? If we are to use them, which will be very difficult to do away with them, is there a way that we can upgrade them to do construction the proper way? Are we putting measures in place to cater for these informal artisans to do construction the way we want them to do it? Another thing that we have to pay attention to is a silent killer in the form of reinforcement, corrosion, and concrete cancer. GS 1207-2018, which is the National Building Code, explicitly provide guidelines to building considering the exposures in the environment. It explicitly specifies how to design and construct in peculiar, hazardous, or challenging environmental conditions to prevent this cancer. Are we even paying attention to this standard? Is it enforceable? Are we using it? Or it is just there as a reference test material? Lastly, on the anatomy of failure, diffusing the present time bombs, is the challenge of forensic identification and retrofitting. The design life of monumental concrete structures, as codified under the Ghana Harmonized Euro Code, the base of structural design, is approximately 50 years. Can we, as a people, enforce a regulation where there is a mandatory structural audit window and recertification, for example, every 5 years, for multi-story complexes and structures exceeding a certain threshold of occupants? Is it doable? The second pillar that I want us to pay attention to for this symposium, or we have agreed to discuss under this symposium, is the accountability framework. We all know that we have a regulatory mandate that has already been established, and the known enforcement capacity vacuum, which the chairperson spoke about. The first under this is the chain of responsibility. Who is supposed to do what and is not doing it? And a usual thing that we are all aware of, the permit-only culture. The current environment treats obtaining a building permit as a final goal of structural compliance. Rather, it's supposed to be one of its first steps. The National Building Regulation 1996, which is the primary legal instrument regulating building, construction, and occupancy in Ghana, as stated in Regulation 45, that developers who complete a building to the satisfaction of the District Planning Authority must be issued certificate of completion for habitation. I ask, how many structures in Ghana have certificates of completion for habitation? Probably none. Maybe where we find ourselves doesn't even have. It is a subject that we have to pay a critical attention to. Lastly, we can also say that the regulation has been reinforced by the new Act 925/2016, which establishes the Office of the District Spatial Planning Committee as the administrative bodies empowered to issue these certificates. Are we enforcing these regulations? Are the agencies, the bodies that have been worked up to enforce these agencies really working, or do they have the capacity to produce the result that we need? Lastly, I made mention of the National Building Code. Is it becoming an issue of a white elephant? When can we have a legislative instrument to mandate the enforcement of the National Building Code? And is the local assembly equipped to capacity to fully enforce it? Why are we not holding people in authority accountable for criminal negligence if a building collapses? The third pillar is the infrastructure skeleton. We cannot build for 100 years if we don't consider climate stress and longevity. Building climate resilient structures capable of serving 100 years design working life amid climate change requires moving beyond the 20th century conventional materials. Are we as a nation and an industry ready to adapt and apply high performance technologies to build our century-ready cities? Who leads the charge? Is it academia? Is it our professional bodies? Or we expect the private entities to take up this challenge and spearhead it? One major factor that we also want to consider when discussing the infrastructure skeleton is the navigation of the resilience premium. The primary obstacle for adopting climate-ready designs is the higher initial capital investment required for advanced technology. Are we ready to pay to build to last for 100 years? Are we ready to invest? Are we ready to finance it? It is something that we have to pay critical attention to. The resilience premium. Lastly, the final pillar will be discussing the economic and structural solutions. When we move through Accra and all other cities in Ghana, one common thing strikes us. There is always a new and abandoned structure somewhere. What could be the problem? While civil engineering and structural engineering ensures a project stands physically, financial engineering ensures that the project survives financially across the entire project's life cycle. How do we stop the thought-to-thought building, the piece building that is occurring in this country? Before the building is already even occupied, it has already started dilapidating. Can we stop this occurrence? Is there a way that we can have regulations to control and inspect the financial prowess of developers before permits and other compliant documents are released to these people for our projects to begin? Mr. Chairman, I believe that by the end of this session, we shall be able to identify and define actionable pathways to grow and improve upon our construction industry towards building a resilient environment which will last 100 years. Thank you so much, and my name is Yao Kwachi Adofo.
Hello. Thank you, Dr. Adofo. We are moving on right into our panel discussions. And I want to remind everybody that we are live on Citi 97.3, live on MC-Bauchemie Ghana Limited, social media handles on Facebook and YouTube, and also on Channel 1 on Facebook and YouTube. So, we are all going to have a discussion. The discussion is going to be involving all of us, not just the panelists. So, audience, please pay key attention to what is going on. You are going to have your time. And how do we move from concrete time bombs to building century-ready cities? And as you saw in the presentation by Engineer Adofo, we saw him talk about 4 major pillars. And we are going to dive into those pillars here on this panel. And for the first session, we are going to dive into the first 2 pillars, where my able panelists will have 5 minutes to comment on various questions relating to those pillars. And then we move to the second part where we do the next 2 pillars. So we'll start with the anatomy of failure. So I would want to ask, with the existence of qualified professionals from planners to developers to architects to engineers and a reference national building code and building regulations, why are we despicably facing challenges of structural integrity? And how can we restore these failing structures to the path of safety and durability? That is for the anatomy of failure. I will quickly move on to the accountability framework so that we answer those 2 questions within the minutes that we are given. I would want to ask again, how do we call upon all developers, engineers, regulators, and all stakeholders to move beyond the permit-only culture to enforce structural safety? Why is it that a building collapses in Ghana, and is treated as an act of God, rather than a criminal act of negligence? Where does the permit trail end and the handcuffs begin? So, I would want to start with Prof. Tufo, who is sitting right next to me. So, Prof, in just 5 minutes, can you comment on these 2 questions first? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy that this symposium is coming on. And when I first got the invitation, I also asked myself whether this discussion is still relevant, because we see the challenges all along. We know the attendant causal effect, as well as people and properties that have been destroyed by these same conditions. But I think it's still relevant because if you don't do anything about it, then we are not going to get the solutions to them. Why are structures failing? I looked at it from materials perspective, and I realized that, yes, in Ghana, even though the land size is not that big, there's a huge geographical morphology changes in the type of materials that we use, especially in Accra, which is very close to the ocean. The material is not the same if you move up north. And so why do we put up the same structure on different soils? Why don't we do the technical evaluation and be sure that these soils can support the kind of structures we want to put on them? Can any material be used for every application? The obvious answer is no. So who is championing and also advocating for the right materials to be used? I have been in the Department of Material Science for the last 18 years, and I have never seen an industry come, even when we approach them, we don't have the open door policy to discuss how we can solve this. And neither has the industry partnered the academia to solve these challenges. I believe they will tell you, okay, we have our technical people, we will send our samples abroad. Yes, but how long can you send your samples abroad for analysis? And so I see that if we have to take the challenge as a local problem, then we should look for local solutions. The universities are equipped, and fortunately, we are very close to Ghana Standards Authority. And so why don't we pick the samples, get the universities to do the analysis, let's compare it with the standards that the nation has set, and so that we can use the right materials for this application. It saddens me, actually, that how many people are we waiting for them to lose their lives? How many properties are we waiting for them to collapse? How much investment are we going to see go down the drain before we do something? I think the time is right that both industry, academia, and the practitioners as well as the regulators, we team together. Because I've seen that if you are waiting to see who is going to do it, then nobody gets it done. But if you have that collaboration where we are looking at the material properties, developing new materials, developing resistant materials to certain structural failures, then I believe we are on the right track to do it. I wish we wouldn't have to meet some time to come to still talk about why our structures are failing, but then we should talk about how can we now change the face into the 100-year development that MC is proposing. One thing made me very excited. So I was in Berlin, and then I took the U-train, and I observed that the U-train has 2 levels beneath the ground. So I asked, was it that these people knew that this would be a big city for which they should go 2 levels below to build an underground train for commuters to use? Or somebody just decided that the cities have been developed, and so now let's build an underground train for the commuters? I saw that planning was also a key component. So we are not planning, and therefore the failures are as a result of our lack of planning. I wish I used to discuss with Prof. Ona a lot that I don't like it when you always talk about problems. We should also be happy about some of the success stories. But if you are not taking the initiative, then the stories are not going to change. And so the time has come for us to work together, for us to apply the right type of material, for us to use them for the right structures. You can't be putting up multi-story structures and you are using materials that are meant for basically detached houses. So somebody must sit up, which I think I am one, because I'm still a materials person. Mm-hmm. And so the engineers, the regulators must all contribute in ways of solving the challenge that we have.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much, Prof. So I'm moving to, yes. I'm moving to Engineer Bimpong. He says the engineers must also. So Engineer Bimpong, we've seen you on many projects across Ghana. So please, can you comment on the anatomy of failure for us and then the accountability as well?
Well, thank you very much. When Prof was speaking, he started by saying that when he entered this room, he looked up. I have also found myself in the same soup. Wherever I go, I look out for telltales or signs of danger, or what we call hazards. And this morning, before I left home, there is a song written by one Priscilla. Well, you see, my wife is Priscilla, so when I see Priscilla, is it Priscilla Owens, for the Boys Brigade. And the refrain goes as this: will your anchor hold when the storms of life comes? So the question that captured my mind, that will the storms of life will come, but then would our anchors hold? What am I talking about? Our buildings. Recently, we learned of the earthquake in Venezuela, and we know what happened. Of course, we've talked about what happened in Japan. In California, it's a daily routine. When it is 6, it is nothing. Well, my son is there, also as a structural engineer. So we talk a lot about these things. Ghana, the number of earthquakes and tremors that we've had since, I think, 1882 or 1802, when records were kept, or we started keeping records. We've had 13. And the most significant one was, is it 13 or more? Probably more. The most significant one was in 1939, which we all know. We talk about it a lot, 1939. And it was just 6.9 on the Richter scale. And I think about 17 people died in Accra. Now, post that, we've had a number of earthquakes and tremors, probably ranging between 3 to maybe 6. But then the question that I asked myself, and this is where the engineering and built environment professionals come in. If we were to have an earthquake of 7.0 on the Richter scale, what do you think is going to happen? Will our anchors hold? Will our buildings hold? And as professionals, or as built environment professionals, we are trained to identify these hazards and then design. Again, let me just, we don't design against earthquakes. Nobody can. Because the earthquake is a stochastic, event. It could come, you can design for 6, 7 would come. But then, whatever happens to the structure, it must not collapse and lead to deaths. And this is where, as professionals, I'm now going to flip your question. So this is just the introduction. And in flipping the question, and you said it, what are the right steps into putting up structures? Well, it starts with an idea. You want to build, and the architects will tell you what? A brief. In the same way you give your lawyers a brief. So you go to the architect and tell him or her that, hey, I want to build a 3-bedroom house. I want to build a 15-story commercial building. Then he would ask you, do you have the land? Yes, I do have the land. Well, you go to the land people, maybe the surveyor, they would conduct a search. That search would lead to the legal ownership of the land. That's one you are ready to do because you are afraid that when the lawyers come, you might lose your property. So that one, we will go in and do a legal search. Well, maybe you are not that savvy so far as the laws are concerned, so you go ahead and maybe go to the surveyor again and say, and this here, I'm talking about the right things. You probably do an investigation of the land in terms of, the slopes and everything else. You probably also go to the engineer and start thinking about the foundation. That's what you should do. And you mentioned it. Will they be able to support the structure? They will undertake your foundation, assessment, or they will do a site investigation to see whether they are compressible soils. What is down there? We will have to check about the drainage. Is it that the material, is susceptible to, now we have so many challenges when it rains. Okay. Now, all these things are trying to identify the hazards that are in there, because you cannot see things with your eye. Prof, when you look out there, I'm sure you've seen that crack. Maybe it is just a cosmetic crack. Okay. Maybe it is not structural. But then I've seen these things also fall. And that's what happened in the 1939 earthquake. The buildings themselves did not kill people that much. But the falling objects, which were not properly secured, they were the ones which killed people. So thinking about all of these things, then you move on, you probably want to go and take your permit. They'll check your designs. Of course, the architect has given you a drawing. You go to the structural engineer, he gives you MEP, everything is done. But like you rightly said, is it just after the drawings? And sometimes they already forge the drawings to ensure that it passes. What happens on site is anybody's guess. But when you think you are doing somebody, as we say in our local parlance, remember that God is watching you somewhere. And when the storms come, will your building hold? Now, the second question that you put, let me take you to Genoa. Just recently, I think our last week or last 2 weeks, 32 engineers and administrators were jailed for the failed bridge that happened, this is about 8 years ago. Yes, 8 years ago, when that suspension bridge failed. The chief executive got 12 years. Here we're talking about accountability. Wow. 12 years in jail. The maintenance guy got 11 years. And the rest got between 24 months to, I think, 10 or 11 years. This is where accountability comes in. There is a famous joke by one interesting structural engineer from CIS. Those of you who use the software, is a very colorful gentleman. And he says that when you're a structural engineer, you design the building, you are paid some small money in terms of percentage, but you are responsible for the lifetime of the building. But the realtor, those who rent the buildings out, you know what they do? They get their percentage every time the building is rented for the lifetime of the building, but they have no responsibility. The tables have turned. You get very small, but you are responsible for that. Because look, the buildings that we have designed, 10 years down the line, if anything happens, they will ask who designed it. And that is why those of us in the built environment or built environment space must always be very, very careful. Because if you are not careful, sometimes the money is that and this is to the young engineers and architects and everyone, those in the building. Sometimes you are giving something small, and this is where if the owner pays you something small and you want to do it, you are not taking money for the time that you spent in drawing or designing. Whatever you are taking is a responsibility, and that responsibility is for the lifetime of the building. Please take note. It is for the lifetime of the building. If anything happens, you'll be in trouble. Maybe there's another time I can take you, because as for me, I have a lot to talk about.
Yes. Thank you, Engineer Bimpong, for that wonderful presentation and reminder that we are responsible for the buildings we design. If somebody's getting 12 years somewhere else in Ghana, we are crying about 20 years, but that's for another story. Engineer Mauli, for GSA, Ghana Standards Authority, how would you approach this? What is your thoughts on this?
Okay, thank you very much, moderator. From the GSA perspective, I would say that we have all the standards available. We write the standards upon request. The standards are there. The code, after a number of years, finally was developed and written and approved in 2018 for use by everybody, practitioners. I remember very well, we went around all the regions, giving the codes to all the district assemblies for their use. I think where I would say there's some failure is lack of education, the lack of training on the use of the code. And for this, I think we needed to collaborate, and that collaboration has not yet been too effective. The few opportunities we've had, we've been able to train people on the use of the codes in the assemblies. Now, the assemblies, from our experience, think, the engineering section think that the codes are just documents that are supposed to lie down. So it's in the engineer's office. But who is the user? The one you send out there to go and do the inspection of the building whilst it has been permitted is the user of the code. So there are standards. They exist for cement, they exist for blocks, they exist for a lot of products in the construction industry. Now, I would say that when we have been in the lab for many years and we do all the testing, the experience we've had is that when consultants refer, contractors, to bring their cubes, their blocks, and materials to the lab to test, immediately they come there, they want you to cut corners. That is the first line of action. Now, then when you tell them that, hey, Ghana Standards Authority, we don't do that because we go to court. People take us to court based on what we have tested, the results we have given. Then they draw back. Some would never come again. Others would come. And when they do come and they fail, we advise them. Some take their advice, some don't take. MC-Bauchemie would bear with us that they do come a lot, and we've had a lot of collaboration with them in the products that they prepare for the market. And there's always continuous improvement there, and every year they come for certification. Now, certification is mainly for products that are manufactured in Ghana. So once you produce a product in Ghana, be it food or any construction item, we would come upon request and then go through your manufacturing process, and at the end of the day, we will test your product, and if it passes, we give you a certificate for a license for 1 year, and then subsequent to that, yearly, you come for renewal. But most people come for quality evaluation, which is what it's supposed to be. So you have your land, you've gone for your permit, you have your drawings, you want to start building, you come and test your soil. That is done not in GSA, but at highways and other places where those who have the equipment to perform that test, the soil test. Now, when that is done, what people do is that they go to the block manufacturer by the roadside and they want to come and buy blocks to test or to build. A few people come to test before they go and buy. Majority do not come, but we've adopted a program where we've reduced the charge for certification for local manufacturers. For example, we start with the block manufacturers, block, paving blocks and stuff. And in that program, we give you a reduction in cost, and then we come to your site, we register all of them, and then once they perform the test and it passes, fine. But if it doesn't, we help you out. We have a very good situation in the Western region where they have an association of block manufacturers, and over there they perform very well. Why can't this be replicated in all the other regions where we bring the manufacturers together and say, let there be an association? We need to get there, and I think with the Engineering Council in place, we are collaborating with them. We held a meeting last 3 weeks with them, and such programs will be rolled out as and when we are done with our collaborations. And, when you look at the electrical manufacturers, they have a group. Energy Commission is certifying them. For block manufacturers, a few of the cement manufacturers are training them. But what about the masons, the plumbers? Nobody is training them. So in the long run, we need to now start training all these artisans, be it the smallest or the biggest, whether you're a contractor or a small, you are in the house, you've gone to school, you can build. Now, but you still need to get a certificate, because at the end of the day, if there's a collapse, you are the one going to be held responsible. So in short, I would say that manufacturers will have to be producing good materials so that when we test, they will pass. We can certify you. But if you are not certified, you do not just go and work. You need to be certified before, and the architects certify by stamping the drawings that are produced. I think that's what you do. The building, when you go to the MMDAs, they will go through the process and say, you have been allowed to build. But does it end there? No. Most of us think that once you get the permit, that is the end. But once you get the permit, is the beginning, not the end. So that when there is a problem, we can find somebody culpable to be held accountable to.
Thank you very much, Engineer Mauli. Thank you very much for that brilliant reminder. So somebody once told me that the German industry is overly standardized. Then I came back to Ghana, and Ghana was telling me that we have all the standards in Ghana as well, but are we applying it? So it's not an issue of standards, as we've heard from GSE. It's about how we are applying it as industry practitioners. We would want to hear from Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority on this matter as well. So, Ms. Tando, can you give us your take, and how do you also come in? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I will also say that for us as Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, we will look at it from the planning perspective, where, for instance, before any development, we are as Ghanaians, we are supposed to invest in the planning. And at the district level, they are the planning authorities. They are expected to prepare the plans and the long-term plans. And we have the spatial development framework. We have the structure plans. We have the local plans. The local plans is what a lot of people know, which is the layout. And with that layout, at the end of it all, you identify where it's buildable. So you get to know which areas are suitable for you to build. And if this is not done, this is one of the issues that we face. Aside that, to enforcement, as my senior colleague stated, is also one of the critical issues. Because, you grant the permit. After the permit, what next? Because then you need to follow up on what the permit that you have granted. So that's where the issues come when some of the planning authorities complain about logistics, going to the field to inspect what is being done. And that's also another aspect that has to be addressed. There's also an issue of improving their capacity, which is very important, because every now and then there's a need to improve your capacity and you need to improve on your skill. We are talking about climate resilience and all that. How many of the officers know the materials that they need to inspect? So it's very important that we look out for these things. In terms of accountability, I would say that the Act has a lot of statements or provisions, which talks about the fact that one of the things that it says is that even when a permit is granted, you can revoke the permit when the development goes in contravention to what you have granted. So that permit can be revoked. So the Assembly have that power to revoke any permits they have granted if the development goes in contrary to what they've been granted. Another thing is that an officer can even go, when they identify a development that it's in breach, they see that it has it's an environmental nuisance, they can go in without any prohibition, go in and demolish that structure. So I think that majority of the things that we are discussing here, it's about enforcement. We have the standards, we have the guidelines and the laws and everything, but we have to take that bold step as an authority, as a planning authority at the district, go in there and do what we are expected to do by the act of the law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nadia. So enforcement. Do we bring the police to help you with your work, or you have the power?
So at the assembly level, they do have their procedures. So as and when, for instance, when it comes to demolition, the assembly can do it. If they need the assistance of the police, they can assist. But they have the authority, so the procedures are laid out as to how demolition should be done.
All right, thank you. We'll come back to you. Thank you so much. Yes. So I want to talk to my very good friend, Mr. Cherry, Ghana Chamber of Construction. You are the Association of Construction Industry in Ghana. And as Engineer Mauli talked about, associations also have to play a role. So as the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, what is your take on this?
Thank you very much. We thank God so much for such a wonderful platform that has been put together for us to at least share our thoughts and our ideas. And we must commend MC-Bauchemie and congratulate them for such a wonderful presence in the built environment in Ghana. Talking 10 years is not a yeoman's job. Congratulations. I believe that our distinguished speakers have touched on almost all the aspects of the subject matter. However, the issue here has been put, let me summarize it. In terms of competency, Ghana is blessed to have the professional competence in abundance. If you go to the field of engineering, we have a pool of them: architectural, planning, surveying, and name them. The challenge, therefore, is about the compliance. Compliance in which sense? That is where the assemblies comes in. Because the assemblies are mandated by an act to implement these regulations that has been put out there. This regulation 1630 has been there for years. Implementation is where the challenge is. The building code has been put together by support of World Bank. But what do we see today? The building code is just a quality control document which does not have tooth to bite. So implementation becomes a challenge. For us to be able to interpret the building code to the latter, it must be linked with the regulation. Who does that? How do we get to that particular stage? I believe that comes back to we, the industry players, especially the chamber, to spearhead that in terms of policy advocacy and regulation and implementation. So that is one aspect of the challenges that we are trying to dichotomize. If we come to the other side, in the material aspect, before building permit is being approved, the architects have their work to do. Engineers have their work to do. The surveyors also have their work to do. They put it nicely together as a project document being submitted to the various assemblies where you find yourself. The assembly peruse it or quiz it and then give approval or otherwise. The approval stage, that's the permitting stage, is just a beginning. What do we see today? If a permit is being issued, the developer thinks that's the end. But if the permit is being issued, the first thing you need to do before you go to site, your mobilization, the assembly must be involved. What are the type of material that has been certified in the drawing? The assembly must be there to make sure that what is enshrined in the document is what has been implemented. Contractors, their work is very simple. They change the natural habitation to artificial habitation by putting together components of materials, which has been certified by the architects, engineers, and what have you. So the contractor's job is to just pick the document and make sure that he implements what is enshrined in the document. But there must be a supervisory authority. That is where the assembly comes in. How resourceful are the assemblies? These are the questions we need to ask ourselves. LUSPA has a very nice art. Most of these things you are discussing are enshrined in the LUSPA art. But the implementation, enforcement is a challenge. It comes back to the assembly. We have a pool of engineers, architects, but go to the various assemblies today. They are short of manpower capacity or professionals. Meanwhile, we have a number of them. Go to Ghana Institute of Engineering. They have a number of competent engineers, architects as well. But they are struggling. The few works that they're supposed to do too, they are competing with their expatriates. So at the end of the day, the offices have been created by these people, but it's becoming like a white elephant. They need to pay bill, pay tax, and what have you. The few work they have done too, payment becomes a challenge. Whilst the assemblies is there and the staff. So these are the challenges that is being bedeviling us. So before a building permit is being issued, there must be a follow-up. Every stage of the development has its own supervision. But what do we see today? Nothing of that nature. So the developer goes to site, decided to do his own thing. At the end of the day, he says he has put up a very nice structure. But whether the dictate of the document is what has been implemented or not, nobody knows. At the end of the day, they said building has been commissioned. A doctor's negligence can cost one life. But a contractor's negligence can cause many lives. For instance, if this thing collapses now, or cave in right now, see the number of lives that we have in here.
Okay.
You see, so this is where the issue lies. So we need to look into the permitting regime and then the enforcement, the compliance aspect. The assemblies has a responsibility. If that is not being taken care of, all that we are doing is just cosmetic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ghana Chamber of Construction, for drawing our attention to the institutional voids that we have in our system. Before we bring part one to an end, Engineer Bimpo, I want to come to you again because there's a part of the question that I want to hear a clinical answer from you. How can we restore these failing structures to the path of safety and durability? You are a structural engineer, so I want to...
Hello. Okay. So, yes, that is true. In trying to find out the challenges, you first have to understand the problem. And that is what I always believe in. And that requires that you do an investigation. Like our own former Zoom, it says, not all painty be painty. To wit, you do not see a problem and you say that, oh, this what happens. Oh, this is what happened in my house, and this is what the engineer or whoever the built environment professional did for me. So I think that I know your problem. We do that in Ghana. You go even to the hospital and then you are given a drug, and then your sister is also sick. You give that same drug to the person because the symptoms, you are not a doctor. So for every problem, it has to be investigated. And as built environment professionals, we have the skills to do that. Maybe your problem is spalling. And for those of you who are not initiated in engineering, it has to do with corrosion as a result, sometimes due to porous concrete or inadequate cover. And that is going to lead to the expansion of your reinforcement, and then subsequently the concrete, which we all know is very good in compression but very weak in tension, is going to break apart. And for those of us who are here, maybe when you walk around, look at, okay, I don't mention. There's another building, I have gone around, you see that, okay, because we are very close to the sea, so this is a saline environment. And this is where you must ensure that you are building sure and you build right. Now let us go into that question. Now, let's say it has happened. No, let me give another one. I did a renovation for a building somewhere in Newtown. You know, in the olden days, they were building with sea sand. We didn't know. So we built, even my own father's house at Mamprobi, there's a lot of spalling. They didn't build probably well, they were not sure. So they were using sea sand, and that has led to a lot of corrosion. Now, when such a thing happens, you are going to pinpoint the exact challenge and you deal with it. And the building I'm talking about in Newtown, when we demolished the concrete, there was no steel in it. I don't know if you've seen it. Not that there was no steel as a result of they not have put steel. The steel had corroded completely. So there are many buildings around which do not even have any steel. This, you need to have a solution to ensure that you reinstate the structural integrity of that column or of that building. Yes, what about if a building is cracked? And this is where MC probably will come in. Because there are sometimes, as a result of inadequate reinforcement in the structure or poor concrete. Luckily for us, technology can come to our assistance where you do not probably need to break down the whole structure. Now we have carbon fiber wraps that can help you to restore the integrity of that beam or column so that your building does not lead to a collapse. Sometimes that thing beats my imagination. You know, technology is just a wrap of the beam or the column, and it improves its structural integrity. It's quite an interesting thing. There are other means which you can do. You can have structural retrofitting. And this has happened a lot in many countries where, like the example that you gave, in certain countries, they can retrofit for earthquake. And I have seen it. I was in Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, where I saw that they were retrofitting some of the old structures to ensure that they are earthquake resistant, not earthquake proof. I always have to mention this. They are earthquake resistant to a certain, magnitude of earthquake, or known based on the evaluation. So there are many buildings that can be retrofitted. It is not just the cosmetic retrofitting where you see and then you just use mortar. Mortar has its place, but that is, I was going to say it's an architectural thing, but then, mortar and chicken mesh. When the root cause of the problem has not been dealt with, it is just a matter of time. It will recur. Or the cancer. You know that cancers, well, nowadays they are trying to treat them. But then cancer, when you do not check and you get to end stage, ye shall surely die. So please do not wait for that cancer to progress. Yeah. If you have a building that is showing signs of failure, maybe you might not see. And I remember I was interviewed recently and I said that when you see a crack, not every crack is a crack. Mm-hmm. Okay, not every painter is painting. Don't say, they have a way. to wait. If you just put some mortar, it will not go away. It will just hide for some time. It will come back. So whenever you see any semblance of changes in your structure, please seek help. Let's give another example. I was talking about porous concrete. When you have porous concrete, maybe you cannot do anything about it, but then you can do something about it. What do? You need some waterproofing. You need some waterproofing to ensure that the water, because you see, all the challenges that we have not all, but a lot of the challenges that we have in buildings have to do with water. Okay, and roads to water. Actually, there are three. The first one is water, the second is water, and the third is water. You get it? So you need to ensure that the structures that you build have these kinds of protections. There are many. You want me to continue? Maybe let me just add so that when you are building, you see, we have a lot of not just porous concrete, but honeycombed concrete. They build as a result of inadequate compaction. You build, and we don't even compact. I'm even saying inadequate compaction. We don't even compact. Okay? We just hit the sides. Well, you know how it is done. We hit the sides and the surface. But within the macro macro fabric of the element, there might be some pockets of, air pockets in them. And these air pockets would make your concrete very weak. And that is where your plasticizers, super plasticizers come in. You know, the first time I used plasticizer, I was amazed, because when you add, and this one was for my own construction, when I added it, it became like what? Okra. It is, and this is where workability comes in. I remember PROCEP, those of you who were PROCEP, Properties of Civil Engineering Materials, the ability to mix, to place, and compact, very easy. And that is what we call workability. It makes your concrete very workable so that you have a dense concrete. Look, when you are designing, you say concrete has a density of what? 24 or 25 kilonewton per cubic meter. But some have 10, 12. 5. You design with, you say your 28-day strength is supposed to be, let's say 20. Here we use a lot of nominal mixes. 1, 2, 4. Do you know what you get? You get, this is reality. I have seen them. Even for a multi-story structure that we were putting up, we had a base, a raft thickness of 1.2 meters. And the contractor, we said this is supposed to be, and Blackmore knows it, grade 40. Can you imagine? We'll be tested. And you do random tests. And then some of the tests, you remember, 20 and less. The foundation of the building. So please, even for those structures which have been properly engineered, they have been permitted, you have people on site. How much more when there's nobody checking? This one, we caught him. That led to the collapse of his company. Let me leave it here. Otherwise, I might be getting into legal issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Bimpo. So, someone will say all too soon, we've come to the end of part 1. But we'll quickly move into part 2, and Engineer Bimpo has set us off very well. So, in part 2, we are going to look at the other 2 pillars that we are discussing today. So we are going to look at the infrastructure skeleton, climate stress and longevity. So how will we be able to build for 100 years? And that is the first pillar that we are going to look at. So I'll ask my question, please note it down. I'll ask the second question about the second pillar, and we'll take another round of response. So I would want to ask, for our structures to last 100 years in a tropical high humidity climates like Ghana, do we still consider standard concrete as defunct material, or should we be outlawing certain types of traditional mixes in favor of more suitable materials for concrete? How can we revolutionize our building materials to stand the test of time? Also, considering that climate in 2026 will not be the same in 2076, we are designing disposable infrastructure because we are too afraid to pay the resilience premium. Now, what can we do for our structures to resist climate stresses in the next 50 to 100 years? This is not a question for the gods. It's a question for us to answer today. I would want us to move on to the second part as well and then take this question so that we just dive into it with more discussions. So we are looking at economic and structural solutions. How do we finance the shift to safety and structural longevity? How can our financial institutions, providing loans and insurance support for respective projects, contribute to ensuring structural safety and longevity? Are the government and relevant stakeholders ready to support the local production of sustainable and high-performance construction chemicals and materials to ensure cost-efficient but quality construction? These questions are loaded. But I would want to start this one with Prof. Tufo. Prof. Tufo, what's your take on this as a material scientist?
Right. Thank you. I think we all have to be concerned that the climate stress is something that is real. And therefore, we shouldn't just say, let's do the things the same way we do them and hope that it will survive incident that we do not expect. So first, we basically need to look at what we do to stop this climate change effect or even minimize it. In the field of energy, we are seeking to produce alternative energy systems that minimizes the contribution to this climate change effect. And so I'm sure you will see people, we are advocating for hydrogen fuel, we are solar energy, and the rest. But I think one of the aspects that we also need to look at is the cement that we produce. In fact, if you produce a ton of cement, you are also producing about 14 tons of CO2 emissions. And we believe this CO2 is a major contributor to our climate change challenges that we are having. Fortunately for those of us in Africa and some aspect of Europe, we have these clay deposits that have basically aluminosilicate, and so they do not generate carbon dioxide. So if we can begin to shift the material use, where we rely on cements that are equally sustainable, produces high strength, and our studies have shown that if you use the limestone calcined cement, which we popularly call LC3, it turns out that your 28-day strength is superior than when you use the regular limestone or clinker-based. It is the early day strength that are relatively low, but then that also calls for some amount of work to improve. And I believe MC is particularly placed to be able to help with additives that can make this a reality. So if that is the case, then we can shift from producing CO2-based cement product to the regular clay-based cement product that we are having. Unfortunately, Ghana has the biggest calcined clay cement factory, I think, in the world. Yes. So if we can understand this and begin to shift, then we are designing and also producing against future climate effect. Also, we have pozzolans. So if you don't produce the cement, which is the binder, we can also make use of the pozzolans. And these ones are also largely available in almost everywhere that you go in Ghana and Africa. I like the fact that if you go to the hinterlands, they often rely on compressed earth bricks. It has been good in terms of managing the climate, the temperature, the room conditions, but then they do not have the requisite strength to withstand high temperatures as well as turbulent weathers. So if we can also do this, then we can increase the scale of producing housing, which will be cheaper. So we are producing cheaper accommodations, we are reducing the climate change effect, and then we are also even creating opportunities for people. And so I feel that it's about time both the industry, the construction association begins to shift and begin to use the locally produced cement systems. And then also for the financial institutions to see that there is value in contributing to what we have produced locally. If you can do this, then the cost of housing will be cheaper. And then people will also live in decent homes. If you have a decent mind, you are a lot more productive than always trying to fight for survival. I saw that, what can we do? My sister mentioned that the capacity. Yeah, we have masons who are largely not trained on regular basis. And I'm happy to mention that I think MC-Bauchemie, in partnership with the University of Ghana, Department of Material Science, have developed a program that wants to train artisans in mason and construction, where it will bring their capacities to a level where they will contribute to the built environment. If this is done, then we are not only solving today's problem, but we are solving the future problem, because these artisans will be adequately educated, and then they'll also be abreast with modern times, so that their designs and their contributions to field work would also give us structures that will stand the test of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. I would want to skip Engineer Bimpo for now and go to Engineer Maoli, because Engineer Bimpo, I'll end with you. I know why I'm doing that. Engineer Maoli, please, what is your take on this? Even from GSA's perspective, yes.
So taking off from where Prof ended, in fact, it's mainly the standard use. So I would say that you can do the best design, but the wrong use of the material would bring to naught whatever you have designed. The traditional concrete, I would say, is not outmoded. But with our climate change situations now, the use of cementitious materials and admixtures would improve upon the durability and the quality of concrete that we produce for work. But if you leave it to the hands of the artisans, which means that for every construction work, we need a professional on site. You definitely have to get a professional for use of the materials that you have on site for construction. So if I say I've designed and that I'm supposed to get C50, C40, C20, who is making sure that whatever design that makes on site, I am getting that? You understand? So most people would mix 42.5 with 32.5 on site because there's nobody checking up on them. And he will tell you, oh, if I fetch 5 wheelbarrows of stone, 10 wheelbarrows of sand, I mix it with 42, they say it is super strong, therefore I'm going to get a good strength. In doing that, we aren't going to produce or manufacture or build structures that are going to withstand the test of time. The motorway has taken us over 60 years because the design was right, curing was good, there were good records of test reports on the materials that were used. Maintenance was done right, but you would also know that with time, the maintenance culture had reduced. So the motorway deteriorated. We had a lot of noise and radio. The beams within it are deteriorating. How did we retrofit? Nobody did retrofitting. I think they did something which was ad hoc, but with time it collapsed. So we would need to take a very critical look at the use of materials on site. You know, when you come and test your products, you keep records. It shouldn't just be that, oh, I've tested the material, the concrete I've produced is good. I raise my certificate and I'm paid. That is the end. But how long will your structure last? Like you said, cracks occur, nobody checks. You need to check what exactly it is. What is the problem that is in there? Maybe you used the wrong material and you failed it. Yeah, I think I would end with that for now. If there are questions, we would get there.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sure the audience are preparing themselves. We'll come to you very soon. I would want to go to Lupsa. Lupsa, what is your take on these two?
Hello. Yes. So at the district level, we have a committee, that the spatial planning committee, that approves the permit. It's not only the works engineer or the fiscal planner, it's a whole committee made up of people from different institutions and departments. So it's important that the committee, we build their capacity in at least climate resilient designs. So as they see the drawings, they are able to interpret and also appreciate the drawings that they are approving. Also, in respect to the building inspectors, as their capacity has been built, they also serve as advocates. When they go to the sites, they teach the artisans at the site as to these new technologies that is coming up. So I think that even with that, I agree with Prof about the capacity that has been done at the universities. But, you know, these artisans, not everybody will have that money to go there. So if we invest in these building inspectors who go to the sites to check on these artisans, it's important that they also serve as advocates to these people. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Ghana Chamber of Construction, I want to hear your thoughts on these two quickly. Yes, from your side. Yes.
Yeah. Number one, for us to extend to 100 years and beyond, or possibly close to 100 years in holding on to our infrastructure, we need to largely depend on innovation. The world is so much evolving that where we have gotten to now, a lot of things have changed. We don't normally go to the traditional way of building and expecting a change in our outcome. So therefore, thankfully, MC-Bauchemie has also shown its presence in the construction phase, as long as the industry is so much concerned in terms of introduction of innovation. There's a lot of materials that they have introduced. But one good thing about MC-Bauchemie happens to be they don't just come to sell materials, or they are not selling products to you. They are trying to train you in the technology so that you become an applicator yourself, which is one good thing about their product. For us to get to this 100 years, as I said, materials. And the materials, the structures we are talking about is always erected on the land. And every land has its own soil type. So if you are not very careful, you may be thinking that it's business as usual. You have seen a design, and therefore let me go to site and erect, dig, pour, and then start laying blocks. It doesn't work that way. The type of soil will tell you what materials for you to use. Some of the soil you need to excavate to bring in other foreign materials. Some of them, Upon doing that, because of humidity, you need to add admixtures to enforce it, to make it more stronger and stronger for test of time. But in our part of the world, if the design is being sent to the various assemblies, approved, moved to site, as she's saying, we need to train more inspectors. Is that not so?
Yes.
Who are the inspectors? The professionals supposed to be there to support us. The assemblies can take more, but their budget is limiting them to that particular effect. So if you want to go beyond this, which means you must make conscious efforts to employ the competence of the professionals in the various assemblies, for them to man the various assemblies. Assembly largely, very large, but you go there, you see only 2 engineers, a whole municipality, which is very bad. And you expected that 2 engineer or 1 engineer or architect to man the entire municipality. It will be too much. The workload will be too much. So supervision becomes a challenge. If you go to the various sites, after approving, as I said earlier, how to cast must be supervised. There are time allotted to all the mixtures, that's aggregates, that's the concrete we are seeing. They all have times. They are time use. So from this time to this time, it must be cast. But how do we see on the various sites? These are our artisans. Even the platform to mix a concrete must properly be taken care of. The type of water for us to use must also be taken care of. We don't use any water for concrete mixture. No. So if you want to take these 100 years into consideration, the type of water we use for concrete mixture must be considered. Yeah. The platform for concrete mixture must be considered. Now the time of pouring for curing is also another factor. Our artisans will mix anyhow, leave the mortar there or the concrete there, go and eat, relax, they come back, they pour water. They keep adding water until they see the softness, then they go and cast. Already, the strength is already gone. So these are some of the bottlenecks that challenges the strength of a building. So we come back to the same issue. Let us reinforce the various district assemblies and municipalities to make sure that we have the competence of the professionals who are in abundance. Let's retool them. If possible, we can subcontract to Ghana Institute of Engineering and Architect Registration Council so they play over supervisory roles for us. If the assemblies don't have the equipment, because some of the assemblies, you go there, the vehicle they have is only one. And it's for the district assembly, engineer or the municipal engineer. What happens to the field supervisors? What then happens to them? This is a reality on the ground. But thankfully, with the emergence of MC-Bauchemie, we are going a bit further. We have partnered them in training some of our workforce, and we are still doing the same thing. We are going back to do concrete technology across the entire country. Because we realize that where we have gotten to, if you don't do that, we'll be thinking that our people knows. But the evolving technology has advanced to an extent that if you don't learn continuously to build your capacity, I'm telling you, you'll be left in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cherry. Before Engineer Bimpong comes in, I remember last year at the Ghana-Germany Economic Forum that was held here in Ghana for the construction working group. One of the major issues that was raised by GSA and I think GASM, which is Heidelberg Materials, was on the issue of this inspection thing, about how GSA is really doing the inspection and maybe the lapses and institutional voice that are there. So I am currently aware that the German government, together with GSA, are looking into a project that is going to really look at this issue. So there are some discussions that are going on, and maybe eventually when these things are rolled out also, the whole nation will benefit. So thank you very much for bringing this up. Engineer Bimpong, yes, I know you started us with this conversation. Yes, that is why, but now I know you have more to tell us, so please.
Well, thank you very much. I think a lot has already, have already been said, and therefore I will not rehash all that. But then I would like to maybe like he did, when you are the last person, you summarize all that they have said. Effect of climate change. We know we are experiencing extreme weather events. Europe is burning. I was going to say Africa, but Ghana is underwater. They're underwater. And these are all the results of climate change. I know some people do not believe in it, and I will not mention any names. So don't get me trouble. But then, these events require that we change the way we conceptualize and even design structures. In the past, I don't know if there are drainage engineers here. In the past, we use what we call return periods in the design of our, drainage structures in terms of the hydraulic openings. But now it is changing. We are now thinking about you design for maybe 10 years, but then you check against 100 years. You design for 25 years, you check against 200 years, return period. Because you do not want a situation where your economic, structures will be negatively impacted upon. Let me leave it here. Today we don't go too much into the details. So it is important that we begin to look at things differently. Because if you think that you can continue to do the same thing and get different results, I'm sorry, the old adage is that you are going to get the same results. You've talked about LC3, and you've already, because when you were talking, I was going to say it, but then you said it. But then there's something which I have observed recently, and I was talking to Professor Attah-Mensah some time ago. How many people have noticed that you have a lot of the new buildings, efflorescence, those white smudge on the surfaces of buildings? And Noble, I've talked to you about it before. This is a multi-million industry waiting for somebody to tap into it and find a solution. Because these are salts which get deposited on the surface of our buildings, whether it's the plastering or concrete. After some time, due to piping or what is the other name? Capillary, action. And when they dry, and sometimes and I know the reason I'm telling you, I've tried to use some products which you would then use it covers the surface. But when it covers the surface, you know what happens? That place is dried, it will continue. And I have seen certain buildings where capillary rise has gone all the way to the roof. What is happening? It means that we have to start finding solutions to them. I don't yet have the solution. I'm trying various mechanical and structural ways of dealing with the problem. But I think that, let me tell you one of the things that I did. I suspect that there are sulfates in the sand that we use for plastering. Because I have had a situation where I have removed all the plastering. Noble, you came in and did some injection for me. But then, it was not the plaster. Sorry, it was not in the block, even in the block work. It wasn't in the block work. It was just in the plaster. So it means that there's something there. And that is causing, the challenge. So we need to have, and you mentioned it, innovation, innovative materials. In 2024, whilst President, by the way, some of the information that you said about Prof and myself are outdated. We are moving, on. Okay, I was this many years ago. But as president of the Ghana Institution of Engineering, I organized what I called the Building and Sustainable Materials Fair. I don't know if anybody remembers it. You were there? Okay. Where we try to bring out the sustainable materials. You see, we have local materials, but we have become too advanced that we are now putting them, even clay bricks. Okay. We are no more using them because those are very dense. Again, you don't have time. But then technology should also come to our aid. We need to start thinking about how we can leverage on technology in our built environment to ensure that you have that 100-year design life. I know 50 years. But then the elephant in the room is maintenance. There's a particular curve which we use in the roads industry. It goes like this, because when you have a structure, its efficiency goes down, and then you lift it up. For instance, you have a road, you do overlay, and then you lift it up, then it's coming down again, then you lift it up. Those are maintenance interventions. When you do the maintenance interventions, they improve on the life or can extend the lives of our buildings or of our infrastructure in general. What do? You live in your houses. How many times do you even paint? When there's something in the house, you overlook it for one reason or the other. Maybe that has to do with financing. And there are many things that I want to say, but I love to analyze issues based on certain known frameworks. For instance, we know about the 4 E's. You've all mentioned it: education. We've talked about engineering, and engineering, I don't want to have a problem with my friend. So the built environment, okay, but it is engineering, you like it or not. And then we go into, we've mentioned it, enforcement. And then even if you have done all of this, I always say if you've done, usually, in the past it used to be 3 E's. But when you have done all, they are recalcitrant people, we are hard-headed, we are just mentioning all the names. They will not listen. There should be the emergency services. So we are not talking about emergency services today, but it is also very important so that those foolhardy people, we can save them. But we only save some. Others, some must die of necessity. Now let us go to the one question that you asked, which I don't know what to say. It's about financing. We've not talked about it, but let's talk about it a little bit. You see, in Ghana, the average period for building, who knows? Individuals. Oh, no. Not for design. For building. If I'm building my own house. Okay, 10 years. That is in that region. So what do? I use my salary. I first mold blocks. I want in quantity, okay, not quality. And then so you build it small. Your reinforcement is exposed. So even before you cast the concrete, it has already started rusting. You expose your uncompleted building to the vagaries of the weather, especially water, air. Is already doing a lot of damage before you start. So by the time you complete the building, you have to start maintenance. And by that time, your money is, and probably you are going on retirement, because you usually will not get money in Ghana until you are about 50 or 40. But life starts at 40. So the point that I'm making is that you asked whether we can legalize. No, not legalize. There's a word that came, where it will come. Whether we can, okay, let's use the word mandate. No, where you do laws, what do they call it? Enact. Thank you very much. Which school did you go to? He went to Achimota. Kaboche. Oh, Professor Kabrofosa. Please, Professor, forgive me. Okay, so the point, let me continue. I just want to ensure that you are all alive and you are listening to me, because usually I like to be listened to. Now, whether we can do that within our environment, probably no. But then the good news is that we now have organizations, okay, let's put them banking, institutions who can come to our aid. And I don't want to make any advert for them. But then where you can go in for mortgages, or You can decide to buy buildings, but please buy from the right sources so that you don't spend so much money, because look, it's expensive. By the time you finish building, apart from the financial expense, there's also economic, there is health, there is so many. They are all costs. The cost benefits analysis do not match. And it is important that we begin to look at it. When we have, even you say whether we can legislate it. Look, in our documents for government projects, you know that, or even when you are working with maybe a FIDIC document, there is a document where the financing arrangement, I don't know if you've heard about it, but the financing arrangement of the employer is supposed to be made known to the contractor. Is it not true? Yes. But even the government, are they able to do that? We are all old. Those of us even in consultancy, we are all old. The contractors, everybody is old. I don't know how we make it. In Ghana, we are magicians. You get it? So how much more the individual you want to legislate? Well, we have a lot of legislation, but they are not working because, you cannot legislate common sense.
So,
okay, let me live. There are many things.
There are many things. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. So I want to remind us that we are live on Citi 97.3 FM, live on MC-Bauchemie Ghana Limited on Facebook and YouTube, and also on Channel 1 on YouTube. So I would want us to move into part 3 of this session. Yes. Those of us here, we are already having fun because we are having to learn a lot. And when I cast my eyes across the room, I can see many industry players. Many of my role models and some of my mentors are here. And I know that some of them have serious contributions and questions to some of these things that we have given. So I would want to open the session for questions for the panel and contributions from the audience. And we will do this for the next 40 minutes. So let me see your hands up, please, and we will get to you. Yes. Okay, so I know that those who are sitting in front, they came first, so I'll go to them. So, yes. So I think Architect Augustus, yes. So maybe I'll give you my mic and I'll get another one and roll around. Yes.
Thank you very much, and truly a pleasure to join this panel discussion.
Kindly introduce yourself, please.
My name is Augustus Richardson. I'm an architect. I'm Vice President of the Ghana Institute of Architects. But you see the name obvious there. We've been partners with MC, encouraging the use of best materials. So that's how come we are there. And that's why I'm here. Congratulations to MC for 10 years of fastidious work in the industry. I want to, because I'm sure a lot of people would have things to say about what exciting stuff we've heard from all the panelists today. I wanted to just maybe contribute because, most of these panel discussions unfortunately end up as talk shops. And one will ask, meeting in this small room here in Labadi Beach, what will we hopefully achieve? And it is something that you have to be passionate about to be able to speak to. As a country, we must, as my twin brother would say, love ourselves. I think we don't love ourselves. That's how he says it. Because if you love yourselves, you won't buy land in waterways. If you love yourselves, you won't build without the right professionals, knowing that you are spending a minimum almost $150,000 in structures you are building only for them to fail. There are structures that have been built just in the last 10 years that have failed. If you go to East Legon, a lot of people are breaking down buildings, and yet we say we don't have money, which is, you can't explain it. I think I was listening to the presentations, and the first note I would like to just, sort of share is we keep referring to the building regulations LI 1630. Unfortunately, in 2022, I use the word unfortunately because it's been replaced by LI 2465, which is still the new building regulations of 2022. And it is a document that this will be maybe the third or fourth time I've said in public, it's a criminal document. It's a criminal document because in that document, if you look at the old law, in fact, sometimes I even say, let's just leave the old British laws that were given to us. In the new law, the politicians, with some assistance from institutional participants, have expunged the names engineer and structural engineer and architect from those documents. It is a criminal document, and I'm saying this openly. The only word you see there is developer and puts all responsibilities on the developer. And yet, we want to build a great society. How do we build a great society when we compare ourselves? The president recently, in the early parts of his presidency, visited Singapore, and there was a lot of talk. I think many people remember this. And so I always try to, link us to the Singapore's existence. In the Singapore laws, be it that in 2022 we've written a new law, are we really serious? In the Singapore laws written in 1998, improved in 1998, there are clear sanctions to developers, there are clear sanctions to architects, there are clear definitions. We haven't done that. If you take the law right now, and I can tell you because I've read it, I've studied it, if you don't do this, there is no penalty clear. In Singapore, they'll tell you if you don't use an architect and keep that architect or keep that engineer there. In fact, if the developer has the right to start working with engineer Ben Ponce and then eventually decide to change to another engineer, he has to inform the municipality within 14 days of that decision. And that if in 14 days he's changed and he didn't inform, his penalty is almost $200,000. That is a serious society. So I'm sorry, but we are not serious. And already as we talk, just like Engineer Bimpa was saying, says we're already loaded with so many monetary issues. So why are you adding more monetary issues? But if we really want to make the right things happen, we need to be serious about the penalties. I mean, I don't want to go into current affairs, but we're all debating just the sheer force of government doing what it must do, and this is unfortunately the Chairman Wontumi case that we are all seeing right now. Can we really be a serious society? These are the questions. It's not just about engineering, it's about how we see ourselves. LUSPA, my dear lady from LUSPA, mentioned in her presentation that there is consultations with the various institutions. I can confirm in a few places, Ayawaso West, a few places, but this is not widespread. We have said to the municipalities that you cannot attract the best minds to the municipalities. Government doesn't even have the budget. The Institute of Architects that I represent, and there I agree very much with Mr. Cherry on what he said. The Institute of Architects has offered, for the umpteenth time, and today will be something else, that the municipalities, like they do in the UK and they do in the US, should partner as per in the law with the Institute of Architects and the Institute of Engineers to have some of the best people support them remotely. Today we have technology. Drawings are being received, by, electronics. So I'm wondering, why are we adamant? We are adamant not to do it because of money. Because, you have, my drawings are vetted by draftsmen at the municipality. Really? Are we joking? There are draftsmen at the municipality vetting my drawings. Are you serious? You are not serious. You are talking about a new building code. Can they even read those codes? Do they even understand what is there? So how do you have people who are not qualified managing the space? We are talking about, what do you call it? Occupancy certificate. We all know where it starts from. Immediately you dig your foundation, an inspector must come and inspect, and so on and so forth. What are we doing? To me, unfortunately, we are not serious. I think it's always going to be. But I think the only way, and I'd just like to posit, Mr. Chairman, hopefully maybe you may comment on this in your final, that if we are really serious, then we must put the penalties in place, and we must be willing to bite. Those who work for government cannot bite government. If your hands are in the mouth of the crocodile, you cannot hit its head. This is why the framers of the law ensure that the professional bodies act will survive, and that there will be an institution of engineers, an institution of architects, an institution of planners, an institution of surveyors. Those institutions are independent people like myself who don't work for government, who can tell government as it is. Unfortunately, we are not going to change until we change that. So thank you. Just wanted to contribute.
Thank you very much again, Architect Augustine. Thank you very much. I will take more questions. Maybe I will not be biased. I will not go to the front. I want to go to the back and come back. So I can see Engineer Patrick. Yes, I saw Patrick's hands up. Can we get him a mic, please? Maybe you introduce yourself.
Hello, good morning or afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be part of this discussions. My name is Engineer Patrick Opon. I work with Tosako Group, where we are developers into buildings and whatnot. And since we're talking about buildings, projects and structures that last for beyond the 50 years and 100 years, I'd like to offer a bit more of some solutions, some of the problems that we've raised, right? In a sense that, and I'll start from the building permit procedures. So we've all been, as Architect Augustus and all the panel has been saying, the assembly doesn't have the capacity to issue, to vet or approve these building permit drawings. But there's a solution to this. In Scotland, they have something they call the SEL certification framework, and it's such that instead of the assembly taking that responsibility, if you are ready to build, building is capital intensive, you must be ready to pay the permit fees. So the assemblies should appoint an independent consultant to review and approve these drawings on their behalf. Because sometimes I'm even afraid for them. Like you have these huge buildings, a lot of brilliant minds, and like I guess saying you have a draftsman reviewing these drawings. They're taking responsibility for this project. I was like, how do they have the capacity to even approve these drawings? Some of the designs are so complicated, I don't think they have the capacity to understand. And that is what I believe, that a little bit of change in framework would help, where the assembly should simply appoint an independent consultant and then let the clients pay for it. If you are ready to build, you must be capitally ready. The second thing I want to contribute to is the role of the design engineers post-contract. Because most often than not, a lot of these buildings that we have issues with 3-level buildings, 4-level buildings, and 2-story buildings, immediately after the permit, the client can decide not to call in fact, most of the time, engineers are not even informed about the project start date. The project is they just start building it. So I think the role of the structural engineer or the architect should be emphasized post design stage. And then the last thing that I will say is obviously the occupancy permit. Without maintenance, none of these projects would last for even 20 years. So, and I know that Ministry of Tourism goes around these hotels, issuing permit every year. I think it should be expanded, not just an issuance of a document, but actual professionals to come and assess. They could be making 5 years. Every 5 years, these buildings should be assessed, structural integrity, architectural-wise, are they meeting the fire safety regulations and all of that? Should be vetted by actual professionals who will take responsibility for the building for the next 5 years. That's my little contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Patrick. Yes, please.
Just a quick comment.
Yes.
You see, the first thing that you mentioned is already in the law. It is there. It is there, and I have seen it. So I remember 2024, yes, I and my group that is, from the Ghana Consulting, I wear two hats. I'm now the president of the Ghana Consulting Engineers Association. We went to the then local government minister, and we laid this before him, that, look, we have a lot of consultants in the country, be it architectural, we can come together, and all you have to do is that apportion the whole country to individual consultants, so that this is where the responsibility comes. If I know that I am responsible for Ayawaso West, I would go in and ensure that the right things are being done. We are producing hundreds of professionals every year. Where are they working? The banking sector is, they are taking them. But then, and this is where the seriousness, you see, there are so many things that we can do. All you have to do, and you said it rightly, if you are ready to build, you pay. Yes. And they are ready to pay so that they'll get the permit. After the permit, we will go in there because we know that we are also going to receive our money and will be responsible. We'll go in and ensure that the right things are being done. And this is something that we need to seriously think about. You see, we all the laws are there. Sometimes you say, we don't have codes of or specification. All the specifications are there. Even if it is a European spec, like the EN, there's a standard. GS will adopt it and become a standard for use in Ghana. We don't have national annexes, okay, but then at least we have these specifications, codes of practices that we can use, because it's engineering in a way it's universal, but there are particular applications, and those applications are what they can talk, about. So please, all we need to do is continuously push, and I know my brother Cherry, we need to push so that we can take our country back.
Thank you very much.
Some people have taken it away from us.
Thank you very much. I'll take more questions. Yes, engineer.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm sure this is not the first time we.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay.
Please.
I'm Engineer Day, a geotechnical practitioner, and also somebody who is interested in construction materials. I've had opportunity to train masons, and I want us to divide it into two. The bulk of these guys, they work in what I call uncontrolled environment, where you don't have supervision. The control environment, where you have big projects, KGB is a consultant, my friend here is an architect, it's well policed, so you don't really have too much problems. But in the uncontrolled environment, where we have the bulk of this guy doing single room, 2 bedrooms, warehouses and things like that, you really have serious problems. What I observed, they know how to do things with their hands, but the knowledge base is very, very poor. And you realize that in most cases, they are being dictated to by clients who don't know anything about construction. They tell you, this is the water I want you to use. This is the aggregate I want you to use. They don't even know that in choosing the size of aggregate, you have to look at the structural design. They don't even know. And it's a big problem. It's a very, very big problem. So that is one area we should look at. As for the big projects, forget about it. It's not a problem at all. But where we see a lot of building even collapsing, it's coming from that side. So it's a very big issue that we have to look at. Then number 2, I have done a lot of forensic engineering as a certificate course. Buildings or engineering products are technical systems. Nobody just handles technical systems anyhow. You can't just, if I'm a geotech guy, doesn't mean I can do structural engineering with my theory of structures that I've learned in second year. No. You have to be trained to handle every component of a technical system. That is why in big projects, you do testing, they keep your results as you are going up. So when it gets to a point that they say you should produce structural integrity, you already have them. So these are problems. The knowledge base in this country is so skewed. I mean, it's always probably skewed to those of us who are here. Lawyers, they don't know that when they are going to build, they need to even call an architect. They get a draftsman. In fact, one of the guys was telling me, they have to do the drawings. The mason, they will do the drawings, and then they'll go to the assembly. They will get a technician, a draftsman there who put it nicely for them. The guy has not even been to site too. So now when they go to site and they are profiling, you see that the land is sloping and yet they are not getting the whole thing correct. So we have a very big issue. You've spoken about inspector. Look, we have drummed this thing that, look, let's use this special inspector principle. That is US or whatever you have mentioned it. You like putting a lot of liabilities on you as assembly. I don't understand them. You mentioned structural engineer, 50 years line of the building, he's still responsible. But when a building fails, we go to the assembly. Who is responsible? Nobody. Recently, Ministry of Interior, they set up a committee. I think myself and we are on the committee. We went to a building around, it's a new Adenta or whatever you call the place. So terrible. So terrible. And there has been earmark, even though you see different days of stop work, earmark for the most stop work, the next time the guy has gone up. We are so deviant when it comes to procedures. It's a systemic problem. So we all have a responsibility in terms of pushing for knowledge base. Wherever we are, I think that we should, maybe no is noble, we should try and extend this kind of discussion beyond those of us in the built environment professionals, and now move into the marketplaces, move it to our law friends, move into our businessmen, because they have the money, or they may have the money to be doing some of this construction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're there. I can see more hands. So this time, so that we'll be able to take as many hands as possible, maybe I'll give you 2 questions or 1 major contribution. So let me see your hands and then I'll yes. Yes. Thank you very much, sir. Kindly introduce yourself and then let's go.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Lucas Damwa. I teach at the University of Ghana. And I'm happy to be here. I want to congratulate Noble and the team, MC, for 10 years in what they've been doing. Yeah. A lot has been said by very serious minds. The last commentator mentioned that we need to probably start going to the marketplace. And I quickly want to highlight something that I have not heard yet. And I'm not sure who has attempted buying what we call iron rods in Ghana. You go to the market, usually we have, our professionals here who do, Architect Richardson will do the nice drawings, and the engineers will do their nice specifications, and they will send somebody to go purchase. And they go with, the rebar specification by the engineer, maybe 12 mm, 14 mm that they need to go and then buy. And they come back. In Ghana, at the marketplace for rebar, 12 mm does not mean 12 mm. It could be 10 mm. It could be 9.8, 9.5. And that is what they return with. The specification says 16 mm, but we purchase, some 14, something in the neighborhood. I like the
16.
A certain delta delta neighborhood. I get that. But we accept that. And this speaks to how serious we are, as a country and sometimes even as professionals. We have all the nice things written on paper, but when we go to the marketplace, whatever is offered us, we accept. A while back, I wanted to buy 1 ton of a certain size rebar, and being the person that I am, I sat in my office and did a calculation and realized that I was going to get 94 pieces of the rods. I went to the shop. I had actually made a payment, a deposit, and I went to collect. And I was told I was going to get 78 pieces. And I said, it should be 94. That is what makes a ton. So the one selling has a definition of a ton. They have a definition of what 10 mm should be, 20 mm should be. This is very important to the quality of the structures we put up. If the specification says 16 mm rebars, and you go and get 12, 14, maybe because that's what will give you more rods, or that is what the person selling is giving you, and you accept, it is going to affect the durability of the building or the structure that we put up. So we need to pay attention to that. But one last comment. I had 3, but since you limited it to 2, I will oblige. There were comments about, we have a lady from the Spatial Planning Authority. I don't know the name. I heard it for the first time today, by the way.
Lupsa.
All right. And I wonder, when you drive around this country, you see people attempting to build on steep slopes, hilly areas. And somebody's building is sitting up there. And someone that just acquired the land somewhere downhill has decided to level up. They bought a slope and they chose to build on a flat land. And we all see. We see. This forum has discussed how can we build for the next 50, 100 years. We might not have an earthquake, but artificially we can cause that hill to move. And we keep, around us in Accra is all over. Around the McCarthy Hill area, people are cutting close to where I live, down the Bree Hill. In the Abokobi areas, people are just cutting. We see. And so we need to be serious as a people. As a country, we have to be serious. And even as professionals, you are building, and who is mixing your concrete on site? Those who do in situ concrete preparation. Who is mixing? Usually it's the least trained, the one they call a laborer.
Yeah.
The least trained.
Yeah.
The least knowledgeable.
Yes.
That mixes the most important material.
Yeah.
And we happily place it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll take 2 more contributions, then we'll end this particular session. Then we can hear from our chairman again.
Let me make a contribution.
Okay, please. I'll take this contribution. I'll come back to the 2. I'll still give you your 2. Yes.
Okay, so for the still bar, we are in the process of sanitizing that environment, that space. So last month, upon all the meetings we have held with the manufacturers and stakeholders in that industry, we met the manufacturers again, who have given us a timeline as to when they are retrofitting their equipment to start marking the bars as it is in the standard. So each bar is supposed to be marked so that when you go to the market, you know that you are buying a 16 mm and you can take them on. But in the meantime, if you go and buy and you are not sure, most people come to test. Once they test and it is not, they go back to them and then get the right one. So I would plead that they've given us a timeline of 31st January 2027 to finish with their retrofitting, and after that, we have an enforcement department who is going to do enforcement like they did for the mattresses recently and are doing for other products. Will start enforcement after that date. It even goes with cement. For the cement, we do market surveillance, but in the process of market surveillance, we've noticed that people are using mortar cement, the cement, for concrete because it's cheaper. And we went to Ashanti region and it's widespread. I had to stop at several depots to say, this is M cement. It is not for concrete. It is written boldly there, is for only plastering and laying of blocks. Yeah. So we as professionals need to start doing that advocacy. Read, not everything in brown bag is for concrete. No. There are specifications on them for use and the types they are. So I think that is the little I'll add to it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Engineer Maoli. So I want to say that we are live on Citi 97.3 and on MC-Bauchemie Ghana Limited on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be going off on Citi by 12:30. So please, your questions. Just 2 questions, one from each person that I call, and then we would end it in that so that we can go off, but then the discussions will still continue in the room. So please, I would call you, and then I can see Engineer Abdullahi also. I'll give you one each. Yes. If there's room, I'll come back to you. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Please introduce yourself. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Fifi Austin from SMG Engineering Consults. We've had a lot of contributions, a lot of issues people have identified in the industry. Mine is a bit more of a question. I see a lot of my senior men here, so mine is to ask a question that, in light of all the issues that has been identified and talked about here, what is the institution? I mean, we have the engineers here, we have the architects, construction. What are we doing to curb some of these issues? Is there any clear roadmap that has been put out to address them? What is being done to boost the interest in the profession? I know my construction man here mentioned earlier on that there's a lot of talent in the country. I'm not sure whether it's theoretical or practical. In the sense that all these institutions, we have people that are supposedly engineers who are superintending over some of these issues. And I believe they don't have love for the profession. So something needs to be done to boost the love for the profession, whereby, aside everything else, your interest is to uphold the profession and look good in the eyes of everybody and say, yes, we are engineers, we're professionals, we're in the built environment. I say that because quantities of surveyors are not here. Okay. Yeah. You have a situation where you can have a structural engineer give out the drawings with some details on it, state his compressive strengths, and then a QS will go state 1, 2, 4 in the BOQ. That is completely breaking down the process. Yeah. Without understanding that there's nothing like 1, 2, 4 in the eyes of a materials engineer. It's all based on the properties of every component. Yes, so day in and day out, we see these things happening on our own professional documents. We state it, and the contractor goes and he follows the 1, 2, 4. Who are you to blame him for what he followed? He was instructed by a professional in the built industry. So we need to do some housekeeping and do some cleanup within ourselves.
Proper collaboration amongst ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We need to do some housekeeping, clean up ourselves, whereby internally, I know there's legislation issues, but I think within each build association, there should be something that internally we can do some housekeeping that would improve our services and the love for the profession. I think the love is key. If you love your job, you do it to the best of your ability.
Thank you very much. So another institutional void, synergies. Engineer Abdullahi, I'll take your question next and then.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Engineer Abdullahi Mahama. I'm working with Maripoma on the Ofankonsam Road. I think this will go to the Standard Authority. We've seen a lot of times where it is suspected that the type of cement we are producing now has a mixture of quarry dust. It's not surprising that the cost of quarry dust is being gone beyond that of the 20 mm sizes when you go to the quarry to go and purchase them. We are being told that some of the cement production companies are hauling the quarry dust in their yard. The next month you go, there's no more quarry dust in the yard. They are not part of the cement composition. People was saying something that sometimes you see the fluorescent moving even at the top of your buildings. I've seen some just about 2 days ago around Achimota. Could it be that the component that is supposed to absorb the water on the various floors where you have your washrooms are not functioning because of the absence of the composite or the material supposed to be part of the cement? It's not everybody who has money to be doing the tiling that we do in our homes. And largely this discussion is centered around the professionals who are controlling the structures. Like Engineer Bimpon is doing a building, he's the one who's supervising everything from the one. But more than 70% of the buildings we see outside are done by the artisans who don't have the training. But this one has to be done well. I believe that the Ghana State Authority may have to go in again and then check on this, because it's becoming a worry to the built environment. And the sizing, the weight, the 50 kg, a lot of people don't have the scale to be checking those things. You are getting 45, 44, 44 of the weight, and the prices are fluctuating. And those are the things that the developer or the individual who's put up a building, who doesn't have so much money,
control,
who gets this artisan who said, oh, I can do it at X amount of money for you, feel that that guy is trying to do something good for the person. Meanwhile, the person who has the wherewithal to do the right thing is just shut out, because the individual who has his money wouldn't go in for the person who wants to pay X amount. So these are the things that we have to look at. And then the last one I heard was some years back, I think about 4 years ago, the Ghana State Authority said that when you go into the market to buy cables, be wary of inferior ones. They didn't mention names. So like we said, if you want to be very serious, where we have fire outbreak every now and then, you should name and shame those who are bringing in cables which are not good. I'm an engineer. Engineer is an engineer. But we cannot even identify the right cable. Let's go to cable metal and the rest. But the rest of the cables in the system, they have done checks on them. They need to name and shame and identify that. If you go into the market, I don't know whether there are legal backends where those companies may take them on. But if you have scientific basis why these cables are not fit for us in the system, then you have to name and then tell the person, when you go to the market, X, Y, Z are not supposed to purchase by individual. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Yamawa. I saw a hand at the back. If you want to still, I'll take. Let me take. He has raised it. I'll come back to you, engineer. Sorry, I'll come back to you. Let me just take his question quickly, and then before we take any remarks from the panel. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Engineer Emmanuel Degbe. I listened to all the comments, and I want to make one of the important submissions. Now, we are in the modern world, full of technology. Hence, that we are looking at the processes by which we can mitigate or minimize the situation in terms of assembly monitoring buildings without permit and all that have you. I want to re-echo. Will it not be possible if each assembly can get a high-speed drone? High-speed drone. For example, assembly, we have 2 cars, 1 car. We don't even have fuel to go around from here to Adenta. But with the high-speed drone, technician can be at office, mounted, go up, and begin to look into the atmosphere. Where are the new constructions ongoing? Where are the new constructions ongoing? Call the presiding member.
Yeah.
Call the assembly in the area. Coordinate.
Remote monitoring.
Before you go there, you are hitting on target. Not just wasting time, going around, no fuel available, nobody cares. We are just wasting unnecessary time for nothing. Which yield no result. We are coming back again and complain. We need to move far as advanced countries are moving. Number two.
I would want to end it here. Thank you. Thank you. Well noted. It comes back to Mr. Cherry's issues of innovation. Please, engineer, take it and let's go. Yes, Dialote.
Somebody has said engineer Nimola Alote, structural engineer. I just meant to make three contributions. One, about the reinforcement, iron rods. Some time ago, when these collapses started, and we realized that the sizes of the iron rods were not what they are supposed to be. So I think we advise that if you go to the market and you see that the iron rod is not embossed with the size on it, then don't buy. The embossment, in fact, this situation with the GSA standardizing the iron rods, we started it. And we advise that if we push the manufacturers to emboss the sizes and the type of iron rods on the iron rods, they are directly indicted to have the right thing. But they know that if I go and I see 12 mm and I take it, you have written 12 mm and I go and check and it's 10 mm, it's an evidence enough for me. So that is the advice we give. If you go and it is not embossed on it, don't buy it. Secondly, I find it a little bit wrong for the M cement to have the same color of the bag as a normal cement. You know how we don't read. So you've written M and you've written it is only for mortar. But the guy does not read. Make the bag white.
Yes.
Or another color.
Another color, yeah.
Then you have it. People will easily see it and they know what it is for. Then the third thing I want to say is, back in the days in Germany, there used to be a program in the TV where a particular product is picked from the market, different brands, and then they test them to a particular parameter, and it will be aired on the TV. Let's say water, and they say maybe sulfate in the water. They test it. Then they show on the TV, this brand has this much of sulfate. This is the specification for healthy one or unhealthy one. So you, the viewer, you see it, and then you know that, hey, this particular brand is not for me. So you go to the market, you don't buy it. If the person keeps buying it and nobody is buying it, you will stop it. You don't need to force. Similarly, with the materials we use for our building, we can do similar. Long ago, at least when Melcom collapsed, that was when we brought this idea that we should have such a program where several materials will be tested for a particular parameter and aired on the TV. That will educate our people from knowing which one is good for me and which is not good for me. And when we brought the same thing, the same idea to public buildings or buildings, that we need to do some structural integrity on certain buildings and then air it on the TV. This building was tested. If you have your shop in that building and nobody walks into it because he's afraid to collapse on him, you do the right thing.
Yeah.
These are things that we have said several times. In fact, really, nobody wanted to
implement
because nobody wanted to sponsor it, and that is it.
Thank you very much, engineer. Thank you very much. I think GSA, would you want to respond to the comments? Yes, and then from there, then we would end the session.
Okay.
Yes.
So I start with the cable. For cables, if you go to our website, we update it almost every 3 months on a range of cables that we have tested. You know, at the port, it's a high-risk good. So when they bring in we put the names as failed or pass over there with their names. So if you go to our website, you see that list there. For those that smuggle in, because they smuggle in, when we do the market surveillance, we get them. But in that case, they find them directly without announcing who they are. Okay, so when you go and you are going to buy cable, like we had a case recently, the person had gone to buy 200,000 cedis worth of cable, and I wouldn't mention the brand. And apparently, when the guy said, "I'm going to the warehouse and come," they went to bring him the fake ones. But in the shop, what they found there was correct. So we go to the shop to buy same cable blind, and then when we test it, passed. But what he went to buy was fake. You understand? So now we are trying to find other ways of getting the source of those other ones that are, and wherever their warehouses are. Number 2, for weight of cement, we do market surveillance on cement. It's something we do quarterly. And now we are doing it half yearly. We used to do it quarterly. And for the weight, I can say that the lowest we've got is 48.5. And the highest we've got, yes, kg. And the highest we've got is 52 kg in a supposed to be 50 kg bag. And for that, the manufacturer had to do an investigation to find out how come his bag was able to take the 52. But by the time we bought and got to the lab, it had broken because it was way overweight. Okay. Then for the quarry dust in cement, per the market surveillance we have done, it's a very dicey question to answer. But for the market surveillance, we are collaborating. If I bring the samples to one of the labs in your institution, I think within the material science place, to do the ASR. Yeah. So we are getting data on those ones, and then we hit at them. But to ask me to say this and that, and I am in the lab, I won't answer that one. Yeah. And for the iron rod too, Prof, we are reviewing the standard too. The ranges in the standard are too wide. So we are reviewing the standard and trying to narrow down the range so that apart from the marking for the classification, to narrow down the range over there like the EN has it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. With this remark, I would like to end this session. Thank you very much.
A quick one.
Okay, Mr. Cherich, I'll give you 1 minute,
1 minute, yeah.
Before I bring in Chairman. Yes.
Yeah, there is an observation that we have also taken note of. Most of the times, as the drawings are being submitted to the assembly for permitting, before it will go through the acceptance and approval stage, there must be a professional attached to the developers, application. What we normally see is to certify it that you are the professional or engineer. Bimpong is a structural engineer on this particular project. There's a project architect. It's approved. But if you go to the field for construction work, you don't see him, and then you see something else. It's criminal. So I believed it is about time for us to crack the whip to make sure that we up our games in those particular perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you. People are abusing their stamps. Yes. I would want to end it here because our able chairman has been so patient, listening to all of us, taking it all in, and preparing himself to be able to bring us home. We've had many discussions, and the discussions will continue because after this, we are going to have lunch and the networking session, and we can continue this discussion even till tomorrow. MC-Bauchemie, even till tomorrow. So I would like at this moment to invite our able chairperson for this event, Professor Boate Onowa Ajiman.
You don't drink beer, so you can't drink.
Maybe I don't drink beer. But he In the beginning, I said he was the provost, but he's actually the former provost, yes, of the College of Basic and Applied Science at the University of Ghana. So, Prof, please take over.
As a teacher, I don't need to sit. Thank you very much. The problems are uncountable. You know our traffic lights. You know how traffic lights work? If it is green, before it changes, it has to blink for at least 10 seconds. And then it moves to amber and then to red. There is a reason. You know, when you are approaching a traffic light and it's green and it changes to red, you can't stop. So it has to blink for those within the catchment area to go. That is how a traffic light works. I'm sure all of you drive in Ghana and you see how our traffic lights are and nobody cares. So if it is green and then it becomes blank, or green, it turns red. And then you go through, the police will stop you and say you've driven through red. Is that correct? Yeah, we know it. So for me, I'm not surprised of the problems that we have here. We don't want to do basic things. And I can assure you that, why didn't you bring the politicians here? Yeah, the politicians, may I say it, the Fourth Republic. I pray that historians be harsh on them. These things we're talking about, if you look at testing of materials, this is very critical. These days, we are even looking at radon effect in materials. The sand that we just go, come and put up a structure, and then radon gases comes in. You get cancer straight away. So there are a lot of things we need to do when it comes to testing of materials. And that is where the universities comes in. We have the capacity, so we have to team up with the private firms and also GSA. I mean, some time ago, I even told Engineer Bimpo about establishing a center for materials analysis and characterization. Interpretation of data is very key. In the medical field, if you go and do X-ray and it's misinterpreted, you know what will happen. So testing of materials, and with technology, there are a lot of challenges coming up. The composites that we're talking about, we need to understand how they behave at the nano and micro level. Talking about electron microscopy, we need to study them, the spaces, the porous structure, and all those things. We have certain equipment that we can use to understand how the pores are created, how they are distributed, and the effect on the properties of the material. So one of the things that we have to look at is partnership, collaboration, industry and academia. It's very key. Very, very key. Then intellectual properties also comes in. It is something that I've pushed for it in this country. We don't have lawyers who have scientific knowledge. So it's very difficult for them. Patent attorneys. So when you invent something, it's very difficult for the lawyers to apply for the patent. It has to be shipped outside and the secret is gone. Importation of goods with the local goods here. How are we looking at that aspect? We bring in cables from outside. Where I used to live in Japan, government is keen on local companies. They will support you. The lines are clear. If you cross it, they will punish you. So we have to look at that also very carefully. Encourage companies that are using locally available materials for product. In that sense, we can understand and set up standards for such materials. In the automobile industry, the exhaust gases, GSA, I had a conversation with your boss was supposed to be here. Yes. On the exhaust gases that are coming out of our vehicles. It's another area. It's similar to the building industry. we need to come out clearly with standards. We are not doing that. And nobody cares. We have CO, we have NOx, we have CO2 coming out of vehicles. It's a big problem. I also looked at maintenance. Again, I told him some time ago about the Pukwasi. Is it interchange? How do you call it? Yes. What is the maintenance plan for that interchange? There is a stadium in the western region, Esipon. It has been renovated how many times? So, madam, I found something between your office and then the assemblies. Capacity building. How are we doing that? We have to be careful on that. And also permit and property rates. I think we should allow the assemblies. We've already mandated assemblies to collect property rates. I think they are not doing that. Yes. So it is an area we need to push so that the assemblies will have enough resources to bring in the professional bodies, to do some of the inspections that you're talking about. Even funds from that can also be earmarked for capacity building for your assembly engineers, etc. So it is one area that I think we should look at, property rate. When I was a student, let me share this briefly with you. A Japanese professor who was about to retire finally wanted to put up a building. So he got a land and then he submitted the plans, the drawings to the city office. There they have the city office, they have the town office, they have the village office. So they worked on it and told him that if you put this structure up, every year you pay this as property rate. So he looked at it and said, no, he cannot afford. So he had to design the building again. And then it got down. Still, he could not. So finally, he said he could afford. Now, when he submitted the documents, the company that came to put up the building, they were monitoring him. You see, to make sure that what he has submitted is what is on the ground. And that is what he's going to pay. So it is an area that we can generate funds, for the assemblies to get money to train the engineers to do the other inspections. I've spoken about research into local materials where toxicity also comes in. Toxic materials. We spoke about the different sands that we have in the country. We need to. I was told Ghana Geological Survey, they have a map of the whole country with different sand deposits, different properties. So if you want to go into highway construction, what kind of sand do we need? You get to the ground, you need to scoop the whole sand and then replace it with something that will be compatible with the overlayer. Because of political adventures, sometimes we wake up in the morning, a whole street has been tarred, asphalted, the whole street. 6 months down, you see that it has warped. We all know, right? There are certain streets that if you drive on it at night, it's terrible, but nobody cares. Going forward, we'll summarize all this, but I believe we need to bring in more policymakers here, the politicians. We've given them enough power to do all these things. Why are they not doing it? It's an issue that I want us to talk about. I hope you are not afraid. Yeah, we need to look at that. Enforcing laws in the country. If we cannot do that, we'll come here this year. Next year, more products will be coming into the system. More challenges will come. We'll come here, we'll talk about them, then we'll move on. So let us summarize this. We'll share with the professional bodies here, and then we'll see how we can move forward. I'm extremely happy that this thing has come up, so that when you enter in a building, you know that, oh, this building went through all the process. And so you will not take casual look around you. We also need to learn from other countries. What are the punishments What are the punishment that we need to give to people who we identify as the main culprit when a building collapses or a bridge collapses? 2 weeks ago, I bumped into a Japanese man who was here to look at the bridge at Asimfusu. Yeah. I'm told there are issues with that bridge. And I said, but why should you bring this guy all the way from Japan to come and have a look at it? You know. So the private firms here, I know it's too much, you are paying taxes, but try as much as possible as part of your CSR, corporate social responsibility, to team up with academia. The professors are very poor. So you team up with us. We can set up a small testing center. I think that is one of the areas that is killing us. Understanding the materials that we bring into the country. Let us set up a small testing center, and then we can test materials. And we can seek accreditation for that center, and then we can do testing here. It is very critical if you want to put up structures that will lapse into the next 100 years. As for climate change, people think it will not happen now, but we don't know what tomorrow will bring. So the earlier we look at these things, the better. There are other challenges in the country, and this is one of the challenges. Those who drink alcohol. Most of the alcoholic stuff we sell here are not labeled. There are no standards. Yeah. Yes. It's the same thing with building materials. Cement, I think everything should be on it. If nothing is written on it and it says cement, please don't buy it. The iron rods is the same. If it's not labeled 12 mm, 16 mm, please don't buy them. You know, we need to be firm on some of these things. And sometimes when I reflect, he doesn't agree with me, but I think Christianity is also part of our problems. Yeah. And then, you know, in our traditional setups, we have some chiefs they call Jantwahine. When you commit a crime, there is a chief. You go and plead with the chief, and then he will go and plead on your behalf, and then you'll be forgiven. Barbara, have you heard of that? Oh, I see. Yes. So our system, we should be careful with the way we punish people. If we don't punish people, I don't say go and punish anybody, but if the person clearly abuses the system, we need to. And then it will send signal. GSA, sometimes you need to shame them. You know, I've worked at GSA before. Yes. Those days, we were monitoring the fuel pumps, the level. And once I arrested this motorized guy, we locked it up. And then he came to Accra, around in Koko area. He came to Accra with his son to prove a point that his son is older than me. And I cannot. So I told my boss that what we found there, it has to be locked up. And he says, I agree with you. You know, so if we are not firm on certain things, trust me, we'll come here every year. We'll come and highlight the same thing. The problems we've discussed here, next year to be here. Maybe with some additions. Yeah, because they are bringing in new products. So we need to look at capacity building, and that is where I'm passionate about industry collaborating closely with academia. We have the human capacity. That is the last point. So we need to expose them. Some of your workers can come and do masters, come and do PhD, come and do diplomat and all those things. I'm going to push for this partnership with MC. When you came here, you organized a trip to Germany. And then we nominated one of the... Where's Professor Damoa? Is he here? Yes. He went to Germany with them. It was a good thing. You know, you selected people, about 15 or 20. You took them to Germany to look at all those things. And he came back. So he is going to enforce this partnership on concrete. Okay. So thank you very much. We will continue the discussion. I'll pick few contacts here. The architects are here. The engineers are here. And then we'll look at the architects. They dream big. Yeah. Yeah, they dream big. I like that. So when you dream big, we make sure that the materials involved, we check them, and make sure that what is done on the ground. But we have a long way to go. The permit, the building permit, I have one for my house. Initially, I thought that was the green light. So after it was done, we've moved in. Yes. That is how human beings are. If you relax the law, people take advantage. You see, so we don't need to relax the law. Let us tell people that when you have a permit, it's not the end of the journey. We should be clear on that. And then as for the other components, it will take time. The materials characterization, understanding materials. Trust me, it takes time. The different soils, the analysis we need to do, we have to map up the whole country. So if you're putting up a 8-story building at Edum, we know the type of soil Edum has. And then quickly we do references and then we move in. GSA, I think we need to come up with this. Recently, I've seen people also cutting sand from Ekuse, the river. Trust me, we've done a lot of work on clay in the department. Very interesting. All the clay deposits, different minerals, different materials. Aluminosilicate, we have the kaolinite and all those different types. They have different properties that we need to understand and then see how we can move them. It's all money, it's all equipment. And that is one of the biggest challenges we have. Fortunately, the government has initiated the National Research Fund. So let's see if they put in more money so we can source some funding and see if we can get some equipment to do analysis, if it doesn't die out. So on this note, MC, congratulations once again for your 10th anniversary. Don't tell me you're going to do this when you turn 20. Yeah, if you can do it every 2 years, so that we will see the progress that we are doing. Every 2 years, part of your budget, put it into a symposium. And please bring the politicians. Yes, we need to bring the politicians. The MPs, let them come in. They are supposed to be lawmakers, right? Yeah, so we should bring them here. So in 2028, we're looking forward to the next symposium. Yeah, you have started it. 2028, there will be another symposium. And then we'll see the progress. What is the name of that permit that allows you to go and live in your house? We want to see a sample of it. All right. So the building permit. And then at that time, we will make sure the assemblies are well equipped with the professional guys who can come in and then make sure that one thing I want to propose is that all the assemblies, they should have a software with a layout of, so Ayawaso West, you have all the land in there. So you have an IT guy. Okay. Then you have all the built up area, the dimension. You could see that this is a road. It has been blocked. We go and destroy it. The assemblies should have that. Yes, we train IT people. Every year, every assembly should have that. And then they should also monitor traffic light. I'm passionate about traffic light. The way things are going, one day I will beat up a policeman. Oh, I've studied this country. You know car reflectors, the paper. Have you seen that? Modern cars, they have inbuilt reflectors. So why are you insisting that we put a paper reflector on it? You see? You see, so we have to spread this. It shouldn't be in the built environment. The food, beverage industry, it is there. There are other industries that have all these challenges that we need to look at them and then make sure we move forward. So, Noble 2028, there will be another symposium. And yeah. Let's start advertising next year for funding. Yeah. Yo, I'm serious. 2028. So if by the end of the year I don't hear anything from you, don't call me. Yeah. So we come here, we make sure, because we all go back and sleep. Structures are, very important. And let's see how we can get new materials to sustain what we have. I'm so happy about Professor J. Tufo's reference to the fact that we can replace existing materials with new ones, but we need to understand them. And that is where the partnership comes in. Thank you very much once again. And hope to see all of you in 2028.
Thank you very much, Prof. We'll be back in 2028. Yes. Noble. This one there's for you. All too soon, we have come to the tapering end of our program. As Germans, we start on time and we end on time. Yes, I think we did a fabulous work of starting on time, and I think we've kept within it. So at this point, we would do what we call a call to action. We've all heard, we've contributed, we have enjoyed the discussions, but we want to call ourselves to action. And we have prepared something beautiful that we are all going to recite. So at this stage, I'll ask everybody to rise up, and then we would all say the call to action together. After the call to action, we would move forward for the photography. The photographers will come and then we'll take a group picture, all of us here together. And then after this, we would go to the terrace area by the pool for lunch so that the discussions can continue over there. Thank you. So we are starting. So you pledge I and then your name and then we all go. Yes, it's at the rest. It's at the rest. We have the police here. If you don't say it, we'll carry you. So can we all go then? I, Kojobo Tujima, I affirm that my signature is my bond to the people of Ghana. I pledge to prioritize structural safety over short-term profit, to uphold the enforcement of national standards, and to contribute to the realization of a century-ready Ghana. I will not design, fund, build, or approve any structure that would not trust with my own family's life. I am a builder of a century-ready Ghana. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly move forward for the pictures. I think the photography team would show us how to arrange ourselves and we take it from there. Yes, and thank you. Yes.
Every story begins somewhere, not with noise, not with applause, but with belief. 10 years ago, we started with a simple idea: enabling better construction and repair, project after project, floor after floor, layer after layer. We didn't just supply materials, we built enduring partnerships. 10 years later, the foundation is stronger than ever. Every story begins somewhere, not with noise, not with applause, but with belief. 10 years ago, we started with a simple idea: enabling better construction and repair, project after project, floor after floor, layer after layer. We didn't just supply materials, we built enduring partnerships. 10 years later, the foundation is stronger than ever.